It's 1 p.m. Hey, Mia.
Hey, how are you?
Good afternoon. Okay, we're gonna go. It's 1. You ready? You ready? Okay, welcome everybody to the Calaveras County Water District Legal Affairs Committee meeting. It's 1 p.m. on Tuesday, February 3rd. Please rise if you're able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Thank you. We really don't need a roll call. Jeff and I are both here. Public comment? Anyone online? That's Justin. This time, members of the public may address the committee on any non-agendized item. Looking for public comment. There is no public comment, no public in the room. Item number 3 on the agenda, approval of minutes. Move for acceptance. Got a motion, second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. New business, federal legislative update. Mia O'Connell. There she
Thank
is.
you. Good to see everyone. I think the first order of business we can discuss is the fiscal year 2026 work plan. The good news is that Congress did pass the Energy and Water Appropriations Bill, and the President signed it into law on January 23rd. And under law, the Corps has 60 days to produce and release that document. And of course, the work plan, as you recall, is the final allocation of fiscal year 2026 funds for the projects under the Corps program. So we are seeking 3.1 million to complete the Copper Cove project, and we've unleashed our senators to request the Assistant Secretary of the Army to include it in the work plan. We also have Congressman McClintock, who sent a letter and has now in the process of setting an appointment to follow up. I've put the talking points together. I've given them everything they need. Hopefully that happens this week. Next week, they're just trying to find time on schedules. So that is in motion, and we should be seeing the results of that probably by mid to late March in that time frame. So that's in play right now. The other item that we've been focusing on is our Water Resources Development Act request for the New Hogan Reservoir Raw Water Intake and Transmission Project. We had submitted Water Resources Development Act requests to both of our senators, Padilla and Schiff, as well as Congressman Garamendi, who, as you know, is on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee that drafts that bill. Well, he doesn't represent our area. He's been very helpful to us in moving Water Resources Development Act items that we've had over time, and has taken our request and reviewing that now. So hopefully he will submit that to the committee as well. So as you recall, those authorization bills take a good part of the year to work through, but we have all of our requests submitted. It's the same requests on the House and the Senate side. They are in motion, being submitted to the committees now. So that's all good news. I got a lot of good help from Kelly in getting all the letters of support very quickly. So it showed the wide-ranging support we have for the request. So that's good. Another item that we've been working on is FERC streamlining, in particular, some legislative recommendations that Michael and I and your FERC council put together. We submitted them to Congressman McClintock at his request. I've been working with his staff because we learned that the Energy and Commerce Committee on the House side was starting to put together some legislation on FERC streamlining. So that was submitted from Congressman McClintock's office to committee staff. I was checking in today on that, and there's some back and forth going on, but they don't have a good read on it, but they are in motion on the request, which is great. So that's happening right now as well. One of the other things that we've been working on is, and I think we've talked about it in this forum before, the idea of helping the Corps prevent um, the infiltration at New Hogan Dam of golden mussels. And we've met with the Corps Sacramento district a number of times. In the last meeting, we really kind of pushed them hard and came up with kind of an innovative approach, which, the Corps and innovation sometimes don't mesh all that well. But the idea was that the Corps we found out, did purchase a decontamination facility for New Hogan. They did not have the staffing to run it. We suggested, hey, no problem. Why don't you figure out how much that would cost of staff time? Let's talk about that. And if you guys submit a request through your funding mechanism up your chain, we could support that request as, core funding. And if you don't have the staff there, you can contract out, like you contract out for your construction. This kind of blew their mind, but they were willing to agree to it. And we've been waiting for the last couple of months to get back together to see what kind of range that number is, to see if they got their act together. And they just postponed a meeting that we were supposed to have this month. So I was a little frustrated and let them know that they really don't need to stretch this out. If they want help from us, they have to be timely, because the appropriations cycle will be starting up and we'd like to see what they're talking about before we engage in it. So that's in play right now. I think what's happening is that they see the issue popping up throughout the state, and they're not quite sure how to handle it. And they have an invasive species program, but it's not a good fit for us. It would involve us, cost sharing on the development construction of a facility, which makes no sense because the Corps already has one. So we're pushing them a little bit to come up with a more efficient solution, and work the staffing issue through the appropriations process. And they're having a hard time dealing with that. So I would say in the next month, we're going to be coming to terms with that. If they want help, we'd love to help them, and we've laid out a path. So we'll see how that goes.
On that, is the ball still in their court? We're
Yep.
waiting to hear back from them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And, the staff who's handling it is a little kind of overwhelmed with us being as kind of aggressive on this and coming up with solutions that, are not typical for them. So they're wanting to bring in all levels of the Corps. And I said, that's not necessary. It's really not necessary. This is, you guys go out and do estimates on work all the time. That's really all we're asking for. Why don't you go out there and figure out what the manpower would be at the rates that you charge? Let's see what that number is, and we'll talk about it. That's all we're looking to do. So it's fully in their court. They understand we're a little frustrated trying to help them, but they can't get over their own hurdles.
Just out of curiosity.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Mia. Just out of curiosity,
Nope.
I've spoken with a few friends I know that utilize the lake quite a bit.
Yep.
They're all part of some sport fishing agency. Or are they developing these things, these programs with the anglers and sport fishermen, or is it just they've come up with their own decontamination plan and hours of operation, or any of that? Is it to the extent that there's an actual plan?
Not that I've seen. For us, they have a kind of a typical invasive species approach, which is what I discussed just briefly, which is something that doesn't fit our fact situation. It's when, for example, if we had a facility that was threatened by invasive species, we could partner with the Corps to develop, a cost sharing agreement to actually pay for the construction of a facility. But that's not what we have here. This is a Corps facility. they've got an interest. We've got, a related interest in terms of we'd like to, make sure that we keep the golden mussels out. But that's kind of their typical approach, going out and, getting a cost sharing agreement to construct something, but they already have acquired it. So we're kind of saying, you guys have it. All you need is staff. We can't give you staff. So the next best thing we could do is help you with federal funding to get staff. You see what I mean? So we're giving them a better a solution that fits our fact situation, that probably fits others, but they can't get out of their own way. You know what I mean? It's just a little different for them. So I would I suggested to them, they said, well, this will take a couple months. I said, no, we don't have a couple months. We've been waiting since before Christmas. Let's get together in the next month and just, you guys, I'm sure have gone out and gotten some kind of estimates. Let's see what you have and talk about
It would
whether
be-
this is
I would like
a
to see what they
viable-
have. Because
Yeah.
the biggest issue up here so far has been when they, like at New Maloney's.
Yeah.
They don't get there till 8 o'clock. A lot of the guys are trying to get off the water by 8 o'clock.
right.
You know, they're showing
Right.
up at 5 a.m., you know.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't characterize what they have as a plan. They bought the unit. They don't have staff for it.
Just
So
a
they
scheme.
roll it out like, I don't know if it's, last time we met with them, was it once a month or a couple times a month when they do have enough people to do it. So it's kind of random,
I see.
and so they don't
Yeah.
really have a robust program in place. But
Right.
I think if we were to get there, and if what we can help them do, because they can't lobby, but they can make the funding request, and then we can work on their, to try to help support that funding request, and we can help a lot, I think, in that effort. But we just need, we need them to actually develop that
I
plan.
would,
so we
I
know
would
what
actually
we're
think
supporting.
our county government would want to lobby for that too.
I think they would,
You know, the
do- they-
economics of
they-
Hogan Reservoir is pretty significant.
I think they would want to support it, but they weren't willing to provide any, staffing assistance either. So
Well,
it's a question of
yeah.
how,
Liberal, but-
what do we mean by
So-
support? But yeah.
So surprising,
Yeah.
they do everything else so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jeff, they do have a general national plan, which is that one that I talked to you about for invasive species, where they go in and cost share. That doesn't fit us. So we offered Plan B because they have a facility. It's really just a staffing matter, and we can really help them with that. They don't really. I think maybe what we do, Michael, is move this thing up. I know the staffer who's managing this. He was a former Hill staffer and is just, not quite up for this job. Maybe we could request that Beth join us at the meeting or something like that, a higher level person at Sacramento District, to see that we're actually offering them a really pretty good opportunity here, and they need to get themselves, in a position to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, because they were clear with us how concerned they are about this issue. New Hogan
Yep.
was identified as their biggest risk reservoir for this
Yeah.
because of proximity to the Delta. And so this came
Yeah.
about as a way for us to try to support their effort.
Is there I mean, I feel like I remember Damon talking about us perhaps fitting some ultraviolet
Yeah.
equipment to kill these larvae and stuff.
So that's the flip side of this, is because what we're talking
Right.
about is prevention
Right.
and mitigation. The other side of it is eventually it's coming. We know it's going to come, and we know we're going to have to defend our treatment plants against it. So that's the engineering and ops question, is how are we going to deal with it once it does arrive? But these efforts could help, even though we know it's inevitable, it could help decrease
Slow
the
it down
severity.
or-
Yeah,
Yeah.
decrease the severity of it and the concentration of it. So anything we can do to slow it down is good, and that's what this effort is all about. But then also it's an engineering challenge for our staff as well.
Right.
So new things are never easy, but we're on it. And I think what we'll do, Michael, is I'll get with you. We'll get a higher level person to join us at the Sacramento District. I think they'll see this very clearly. as an opportunity rather than just some kind of bureaucratic exercise, to help them get the funding they need to do this, to man their own infrastructure. Okay. If there's nothing else on that, the other item, and maybe Michael, you've got an update too, but you had asked me to have McClintock's office follow up with USDA. We understand there were final approvals on the loan guarantee for the biomass project, but we hadn't seen the paperwork. So we asked McClintock's office to get with USDA to get that paperwork. They too were advised that it's approved, but it's turning into a black hole. Over at USDA, people aren't really responding. This is nothing new. I mean, I think we've seen that from USDA for the last couple of years. But it's not just this office. There's other offices that aren't getting the information they need. So they're on it, they're pushing. It's just,
So they
agencies
actually,
not
we did
responsive.
finally get the letter from
Oh, okay.
USDA. Yeah, that's a
Great.
recent development.
Super.
And it didn't, the big question was, okay, you're telling us the funding is approved, but the last time this isn't the first time they approved it. The last time they approved it, it had some very onerous conditions on
Right.
the approval. And so the big question was, when we see the letter this time, will it be acceptable conditions? And the good news is, yeah, it's good. It'll work for the developer. They have a separate challenge with PG&E and construction timing that we're still trying to resolve. But the funding is there.
Okay, great. So all kudos to Congressman McClintock. I will let his office know that through his efforts that the letter was released and it is acceptable. And the project goes forward. It's in the hands of the developer, so we can thank him for that. Great.
Absolutely,
Super.
yeah. You might mention we're still having an issue with PG&E, so if he has any leverage with PG&E, we would appreciate a discussion on that topic.
Also
Uh-huh.
still interested in doing it though.
Oh yeah, I know. They're
What's the
persistent.
hurdle? What's the tie-in with PG&E? What's the hurdle
So the
there?
problem is the power purchase agreement was issued through the BioMat program, which is created by the CPUC, by California legislature first, but then by the CPUC. The couple of things going on here. So the BioMat program, the CPUC decided to terminate. We're members of the Biomass Association of California that is suing to prevent that from happening because something that was adopted by the legislature. And so the argument is that CPUC doesn't have the authority to actually just terminate that program. That's a separate issue. The problem that this project ran into was in those power purchase agreements, there's a time window between when the power purchase agreement is executed and when the project has to come online. They've run into this issue before because of how many hurdles this project has faced, and PG&E, it was not an issue to get PG&E to award a new power purchase agreement in that window of time. This time around, PG&E said no. And we think it's because of the timing of the end of the BioMat program. So PG&E saw this as a way to get out of it entirely. If the BioMat program still existed, they would just have to reapply and they'll get a new contract. And so denying the extension or denying the new contract didn't make sense for me. But this time around, PG&E said, oh no, we can't do that, even though they had done it before. And so that's the big fight with PG&E right now, is getting them to extend that window of time to complete construction, because there's no way to do it now. They have the funds now, but if they start construction now, it's not going to get done within that time.
PG&E didn't say what, I mean, they said no, but they don't have to give a reason. They don't have to.
They gave reasons. There was a lot of back and forth with them. We've been putting, pressure on them to try to do the right thing here. And there's a lot of advocacy on behalf of the project and on behalf of the developer, but so far PG&E.
Okay. Michael, if you want to send me a couple of bullets on that. It's pretty detailed, you know, I want to be able
Yeah.
to state it correctly to McClintock's office. I mean,
It's much
Uh,
more, it's really a state program. So all
Yeah.
of the programmatic stuff, I don't know that he would have, you
right,
know,
so
that
whatever
he would
we're
want to
asking
engage in,
him
but
to
he
do.
might have those relationships with PG&E where it helps if he even asks the question.
Okay, well, let's talk about that to make the ask as straightforward as possible. Right, for him.
You mean that wasn't crystal clear? Fair
You do
enough.
understand what I'm operating with, sir, do you not?
Understood. Yeah, no, well, we can simplify that.
Very good. And then the last item is the Washington trip.
Yeah, before we get
yep.
into the trip and details, are we still following or focused at all on the Bureau Reclamation, New Maloney storage? Anything, or is that off our plate or, and?
I don't know exactly, Michael, where that stands.
Yeah,
what's the latest you're hearing from out there?
Well, that was more of just a water resources discussion we were having with the board. And so that, you know, I think that's probably a better separate discussion we can bring back to the full board.
Well, we were waiting for something to happen with, is it EID in America and on the American River?
Right, and
And
that was unsuccessful. Okay. There does not appear to be a path. Conserved water as a basis for transfer.
I see our water resource manager is on here or was on. Is he focusing on this at all?
I can tell you, I'll take that one for you, Andrew, because I know you weren't expecting that question, but not currently one of
Okay.
our high priorities, but we can circle back on it.
Okay, awesome. For a future agenda item, not here, but for the full board?
I would think so, but yeah.
Can we throw it on here for our next meeting?
We could do it here, sure.
Okay, I mean, if we get there first, great, but if not, and even if so, we can still follow up on where it's
Sure.
at here, follow along with it. I've been curious that for 10 years. I mean, and
Yeah, it's
come and gone, and general managers come and go, but it never seems to gain any traction, even though there's some great ideas.
we'll bring it back.
The trip,
The trip.
the plane.
Which is coming up March 12th and 13th, tying it to Michael, is it the National Hydropower Association conference? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
their Water
out
Power
here?
Week.
Yeah. So we're focusing the 12th and the 13th, which is I think the end of that week, on a set of meetings. I'm getting meeting requests out now for that. We will be seeing, I mean, it'll be interesting because we'll see where the work plan is. If we've gotten information on that or not, to see if we have an appropriations request, Michael, for fiscal year 27. And if we get the funding, we won't have a request, correct?
For fiscal year
work plan?
27, other than the new Hogan request potentially.
Well, that one's a word of request. We have to get that authorized
Yeah.
first. And then we'll come back the next year, assuming we can get the authorization on that one.
Mhm.
So I'm being flexible
Yeah.
on the issues right now because we have to see how it plays out. But we would definitely, want to make sure that we get the funding to complete that. And we've got our word of request in. We'll be talking about that. We'll be updating and working on this FERC streamlining. Michael, do you want me to see if we can get a Padilla or shift person on energy?
Energy. Yeah, we met with Padilla's guy, I think it's Nate, before.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
he was
we'll see if
interested on the
he's-
relicensing and the biomass front.
Right. I'll see if
don't
he's
remember.
still there and handling. Okay.
And then on the the Army Corps request, it might be good. Let's maybe set up a call if you're available later this week and we'll talk about where we're at. Cause remember we were reshuffling the project sequencing. And so be good to
Mhm.
run that stuff by you.
Okay,
And
okay, good. Let's do that. So we'll be meeting with, the Assistant Secretary of the Army's office, with our Hill members, OMB. We've got a new person over at Corps headquarters. They just keep retiring, Um, Wes Coleman, who took over Tab Brown's spot just very recently. He's a long-term Corps guy at headquarters who's really pretty well respected, so we'll go and see him. Yeah, it should be a good set of visits.
What's the schedule for the hydro? That Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
it is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And Thursday is one of the days where they have, substantive events and things like that, but we'll prioritize these on that. Those Thursday, Friday are the days we gave,
It starts on Tuesdays.
but we can be there.
Try to fly
Tuesday,
out.
Wednesday.
And just out of curiosity, are you guys, you're just signing us up for the conference? We got to take care of our hotels. Can I at least get a flyer on where it's going to be so I'm close?
Have we been signed up yet?
I'll get that info. I'll get that info to you.
Okay. Can we do that this week? Just for
Yes.
planning and scheduling, purchasing, airfare, hotels,
Will do.
like 5 weeks out.
Okay,
That's on Tuesday. We're flying out Monday, planning on attending it on Tuesday and Wednesday, dedicated to it, and then Thursday, Friday, more dedicated to DC visits.
Yeah, and there was some
Thursday.
question with Chuck Sensiba about possible FERC meetings earlier in the week, so I'll circle back with him.
And on Friday meetings, Mia, how do those go? It seems to be a getaway day for them sometimes
Right.
as well.
well, we'll try to, the time is being squeezed because we don't have, we don't have the whole day on Thursday. So I'm just gonna work with it, maybe get the program, Michael, from you, so I can kind of try to schedule around whatever events seem important. I don't know. But
I
to
wouldn't
answer
worry
your
about that
question-
for
Oh,
your
okay.
meetings, Mia. I think those are priorities, so I
Okay,
would say,
great.
yeah, my thought was Thursday and Friday are open for whatever you need to schedule.
Okay, great.
And, yeah,
Great.
we'll be available.
Okay, so Scott, to answer your question, I'm gonna try to stack the first half of the day on Friday, so
Okay.
we could be gone, done by 12:01, and everybody else can move along as well. It's my thought.
All right. Good to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything further on the visit? Anything we need to know at this? We don't have
No.
another meeting. We don't have another one of these meetings between now and then. So, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Everything
I'll
else will
just-
be email.
Yeah, everything else should be email. Once we start getting responses on the meeting requests, we usually put those right on your calendar so you can kind of see it as it's developing. So, you can look for those in the next week or two as people start waking up and scheduling.
Awesome. Okay.
Okay.
Anything further, Mia?
No, that's it for me.
All right. Well, thank you very
Nothing's
much.
going on in DC, huh? Right.
Have you been riding your
Yeah.
bike into work the last couple weeks?
Oh my God, that's the issue. Losing my mind. I'm on the trainer up on my third floor, which is not the same, Jeff. It's getting a little
Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, well.
It's all
It'll be
right.
spring soon enough.
That's true. That's true. Is that I can see them trying to move these 9-foot, 10-foot high walls of snow in front of my house. So
It's
hopefully,
64 out here today.
don't start with me on that.
Thank you
All
very
right, you
much,
guys.
Mia.
Great
Have a good
seeing
one,
you.
Mia. See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, moving on, new business, item 4B, state ledge and regulatory updates. Justin Caparuso, good to see your smiling face. How's everything going?
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Many thanks to Kelly for inviting me. Not sure, I see Michael's name here too. Not sure, Michael, if you wanted to jump in before I launched.
Yeah, that's really important. Let's not skip that. And now I'll turn it over to Justin Caparuso. Thank you, Justin. Thank you for joining
well,
us.
Hey, protocol, right? Robert's rules. No, thank you. Thanks for having us. Again, Justin Caparuso. I'm the executive director for the Mountain Counties Water Resources Association, of which your agency is, of course, not only a member, but Scott Ratterman sits as our president. So thanks for having us. I'm here to provide just kind of an overview of kind of where we're at in the legislative process, how it's looking for the year, and how Mountain Counties is going to engage on your behalf. So our legislative committee met last week. We're early on in the session, obviously. Friday the 31st was actually the deadline for passing House of Origin 2-year bills. With that being said, the actual bill introduction deadline for this year is February 20th. And we're not seeing a lot of bills being introduced early on. So things are kind of moving slowly right now with the anticipation that there'll be a lot of bills being introduced in the coming couple weeks. As we move through the ledge process, just some kind of homework some housekeeping. Mountain Counties does keep track of both a bill list as well as Mountain Counties' positions on legislative proposals. Our website has a legislative committee page. You can go there and keep track of where we're at. We also list our policy principles there, which kind of guide the association on where to kind of weigh in when it comes to advocacy. That being said, we are anticipating a few things taking place this year, and some of our priorities right now are around one bill, Assembly Bill 35. Mountain Counties has already signed on to. That is a bill related to the focused really on Prop 4, but it is really around fast tracking the climate bond expenditures by allowing state agencies that are charged with allocating those bonds, the money from those bonds, to bypass the Administrative Procedures Act process. So kind of getting money into where it needs to be a lot faster. So we've already signed on to that along with a number of sister organizations and groups, and hoping that we see that move forward. I know it's already passed through the Assembly. Some of the other priorities that we see coming up include
Justin, before you leave,
Yeah.
it's AB 35, correct?
AB 35. That's correct.
Does individual water districts signing on have any effect at this late juncture?
Yeah, I mean, any, additional add-ons would be appreciated and helpful to, build on that support list. Of course, you're represented through Mountain Counties as well, so it would be up to you guys to make that decision.
That's something that we throw into our consent agenda and
Yeah,
Or even
I
discuss.
think if it's in the past, I mean, we have a loose policy on that, but if it's consistent with positions we've taken in the past, we can go ahead.
Okay.
And
And that, Scott, is,
It is.
our letter of support is on our website, so you could pull from that as well.
All right, easy enough. Sorry, go ahead.
No problem. We also anticipate a utility worker pass program legislation that will most likely be weighing in on, as well as picking up the ball around a low income rate assistance program. Not quite sure what that looks like, not really have a final answer on kind of how that's funded, but we know how important that is to our rural mountain agencies, and think that we can really be effective in kind of maintaining that conversation, even if we're not able to push something forward through this year.
on that real quick, Justin, I'm glad to hear you bring that up, because there was some discussion at Aqua State Ledge Committee about that, and how, because Larry had sort of championed a
Yeah.
legislative concept that Aqua initially supported and then is not moving forward with it though. And the main issue is the identification of a funding source, which I
Right.
think, I don't want to speak for Larry, but I think his thought was trying to convince the legislature that it should be general fund. And I think that maybe was a fight Aqua wanted to pick up right now. But I'm just glad to hear you just bring it up because I don't want it to just fall by the wayside completely. So maybe we don't see a bill introduced this year. I think probably too late for that, but continuing the discussion on that.
Yeah, thanks. My thought process is twofold. One being we don't want to let a year go by without talking about it. And we don't necessarily yet know that we're going to kind of co-sign on the general fund as a funding source necessarily. But we want to make sure that this issue still remains top of mind throughout the year, even if something's not introduced this year.
Yeah.
I read something recently on that had a unique idea, and I can't remember what it was for funding. And it wasn't going back to ratepayers and individual districts, overpayments or asking for contributions. There was something that was, you know what I'm talking about, Justin? Just
It
an
might be the
idea.
bottled water.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Where is that going? Is anyone contacting these big water bottling companies that are
That's interesting.
and I don't know, maybe you can explain a little bit further. The memo that I saw talked about how much money they're making, that they take a lot of water and the markup on that, the cost of the bottling process and the cost of shipping and whatnot is very, very minimal.
Yeah.
And they're making, the markup is some ridiculous percentage over and above what their costs are.
Often on public water, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's my recollection from reading that, and that's one of the kind of funding source scenarios that has been floated. We haven't dived into it any further than that, but that's my understanding as well. It'll be interesting though to see. That's a challenging lobby.
I can't
It
imagine
is
it
because
being-
there's a policy rub there, right? Because the state is also trying to disincentivize and discourage the use of single-use
Right.
plastics. And so if you were to suddenly make that a source of funding for low-income ratepayer assistance, you'd be almost encouraging people to buy more plastic water bottles, which
It's
is the state-
undermining that. Yeah.
contrary to what the state's policy is. So
The only thing I can think of makes me want to think of is why we're not doing it,
doing what?
bottling our water.
Oh, right. That's another question, right?
I'm only halfway kidding because
Yeah.
I seem to remember, maybe John Coleman told me that most of the, like almost all the water that's bottled from Safeway in Northern California comes out of Pardee.
That's a question I was going to ask about the golden mussel. Is Pardee, have East Bay Mud come out with their policy for this coming season?
I know initially they just shut it down entirely. I don't know
Well,
if
yeah,
they
that was
opened.
all of last year.
I understand it's still closed. They're gonna open Comanche, with some sort of banding or something, but I believe Pardee's gonna stay closed.
Kelly, let's make a note to follow up with East Bay Mud on that and see where they are. Because we had a group of agencies that were all dealing with that issue when it first hit last year, and probably a good time right now to circle back with that group.
Sorry for the continued interruptions, just the topics are so interesting.
Yeah, I know. This is a great conversation.
Continue, please.
So moving forward, Mountain County's process, just so you're all aware, we had our initial kind of set the stage legislative committee meeting last week, as I referenced. We're going to meet again in early March to review kind of the legislative proposals and after the bill introduction deadline. So we've got our team tracking bills as they're introduced. We will prioritize them kind of into 3 different buckets. And the Leg Committee will present a proposed legislative platform to the Board of Directors to consider in alignment with our policy principles and the top priorities for the association. In addition to the legislative process, we're also working on, with the help of CCWD and specifically Damon Wyckoff, the Advanced Clean Fleets regulation. So these, we are still advocating. We had been invited, mountain counties, along with two other organizations, Aqua and CASA, and SMUD. So I'm sorry, three other organizations to be part of a roundtable that was hosted by Sonoma County Supervisor and CARB Director Linda Hopkins. We, mountain counties, kind of pivoted on our advocacy last year and really focused on connecting with CARB board directors who we hadn't previously outlined our concerns with, and that proved to be successful. And we held our first roundtable with that group late last month. We're already in February. And they are working to kind of pull together a one-pager policy document that kind of sets the stage for the problem and some potential solutions. I can say that Mountain County's proposed solution was really to refocus on the administrative fleet, kind of, explaining that all of our agencies are, willing to support the climate goals, but not at the expense of protecting our water and resources and people and communities. So we're really optimistic, actually more optimistic than we were this time last year at kind of where we're at in terms of our engagement with CARB on Advanced Clean Fleet. And thanks to Damon Wyckoff for all of his support on that.
Justin, can I jump in? That
Please.
Mountain County's Ledge Committee meeting is going to be on March 10th at 2 p.m. Kelly, if you're interested, I think we're going to be in DC at that time. But it would be, I think, beneficial on that that meeting. I'm going to guess Jessica is on that Ledge Committee, correct?
Correct.
What else I was going to say? Oh, on Prop 4, Mountain Counties is also looking for a list of projects that are shovel ready. You sent out another email on that again this week, I think, Justin. Is that something, do we have projects that would fit into Prop 4 funding?
Yeah, and we did receive a list of projects, kind of capital improvement, shovel-ready projects from CCWD during that request last year. So it would just be really reviewing those to see if there's anything new.
Okay, we'll circle back on that.
Yeah, and I can share those directly with you, Michael and Kelly. I'll send those to you after we get off the call, so you've got them top of mind.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. Moving on away from the legislative process, this is also an election year, and I think what we're really seeing, everybody's kind of watching with keen interest, is the governor's race. And we're looking at really a fragmented field right now. We just saw earlier this week, I think it was, that San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan entered the race, which really is a challenge for significantly complicating the math for the other Democrats who are in the race. And in fact, the latest polling shows that the top two in the race right now are both Republicans, which is quite interesting. And if this trend continues, could lead to kind of a lockout risk for the Democrats, which were a top two general election, and we could be seeing two Republicans in the top two slots. Most likely that won't happen, but could happen. And we've got the Democrat convention coming up, at which point we anticipate potentially seeing Democrats rally around a candidate or candidates and have a few potentially drop out and endorse. So kind of interesting to keep your eyes on what's going on there.
Will be.
Let's see here. The budget was released. The governor's budget was released early last month. Quite a rosier picture than the legislative analyst's office painted, with only a $2.9 billion deficit. The LAO's estimate was actually $18 billion. We're really focused on Prop 4 as it relates to the state budget, particularly at this point, ensuring that Prop 4 funds remain for what they were intended and not utilized for backfilling general fund obligations. So more to come on that. Some of those areas of interest, I think, in the budget particularly are around the CAP, what's called now the Cap and Invest program, used to be called Cap and Trade, as well as wildfire and forest resilience funding specifically. Just to kind of signpost some of the things coming up for mountain counties, we are looking at, again, a legislative advocacy day in the spring. We don't have any further details on that yet, but in the past, they've been held during the month of May. We're also working on, which we're excited about, and this will be presented to the board for their review and consideration, a partnership with EcoFlight to provide legislative flyover tours in the fall, looking at potentially August for that. And EcoFlight is a nonprofit out of Colorado, I believe, who works with organizations, nonprofits like ours, on outreach and education. And the flights would be at no cost to the association. So we've had 2 initial calls with them around kind of setting these up and working with our advocacy team on identifying kind of the best opportunity to do it, as well as, really kind of paring down a list of legislators that make sense to invite to such a legislative tour. And of course, Mountain Counties is focused on outreach and education as it relates to urban and Southern California and greener legislators who are potentially unfamiliar with the water system and the landscape of the Sierra Nevada. So that's kind of where our priority remains with that. Our board meeting is coming up. Our next board meeting is coming up here on Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. We seem to have a lot of board meetings on Friday the 13th, now that I think about it. At 9 o'clock, that'll be virtual, but we do have board meetings scheduled throughout the year on our website, and a handful of those are in person spread throughout the region. So as always, we encourage folks to attend. My last plug is that we are fortunate enough to be co-hosting the California Wildfire Forest Resilience Task Force Sierra Nevada Regional Meeting. That's going to be taking place in Tuolumne County, March 19th and 20th. We're working on a program now that will run on the 19th, and we are looking for agencies and organizations to host tours on the 20th. And so the tours that we're looking for really can be spread throughout the region. Folks are going to be, coming into Tuolumne County from north, south, east, and west. So we're really looking to offer up tour opportunities on their way home on Friday in all parts of the Sierra Nevada. Friday the 20th is the tour opportunity. Thursday the 19th is the task force meeting.
How far up are you going to try to go?
When you say up, are you talking north?
Up country?
You said Tuolumne. I mean, I have a cabin up there that I won't be able to get into until, July.
Well, yeah, the tour opportunity is really interesting because I'm really looking forward to that event. I was just excited to hear that Mountain Counties is co-hosting that. We're thinking about, sponsoring at some level, but the tour option is interesting too, because we could facilitate something at our North Fork project. We have some cool infrastructure if folks are interested.
Oh,
Yeah, it would be great to have you guys do that.
That sounds like that sounds like put us down.
Just out of curiosity, I don't know if anybody else has heard this, but I know it was on the news last week where, and I forget the term, but for years, the Forest Service has been advocating for a no access rule, no roads.
Yeah.
I believe they're abandoning that.
So I'll have to get a more recent update, but that was in the works. Even in the prior administration, there was an effort to loosen those access restrictions. So I don't have a recent update on it, but we can get back to
It was just in the news last week where they were basically officially abandoning that policy.
But Justin, I'm gonna guess it, because this is gonna be at the Chicken Ranch, and not too far from Highway 4 and 108, that those would be the prime. I don't know if TUD, where their infrastructure is up 108, but,
Yeah, they have their brand new treatment plant, which would be interesting. But yeah, if folks want to see hydropower stuff, or yeah, we have.
and even their ditch system would be interesting, right there in town.
Yeah, so we'll follow up with you on that, Justin.
Are we
That'd be
interested?
great.
Would we be capable of putting together a couple vans or trucks or have people
Yeah,
follow it?
definitely. We'll talk to Justin about how
Okay.
that would work for sure.
And are you looking just for Mountain County's purpose, are you looking for any other tours outside of Tuolumne and Calaveras for that day?
Yeah, so we have had planning calls where we're looking at, extending as far as Amador, El Dorado, just because folks are going to be traveling back, and it might be an opportunity, to offer up something on their ride home. So
We have-
oh,
I was just gonna say, we have a ton of work that we've done in the McCollum watershed with up in McCollum River Watershed
Umra.
Authority.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We-
and UMRA is a part of the event, and I believe that they are going to be working with their members as well to facilitate a tour.
We're looking for quite a few people there, right? What do you?
Yeah.
We were
Man,
planning
you know
it, we're
what?
talking-
The week after it was registration open, we were at over 220 attendees. They're expecting about 500.
Oh, great.
And yeah, so the ways that can be engaged that we're looking for engagement are, as we've referenced, sponsorship, the tours, and there's also a resource fair in the morning of the Thursday, the 19th. And so that might be an opportunity for, I don't know so much for agencies, but for vendors and others to really have a presence there at the event as well.
I was actually thinking about that as an opportunity because the NCPA GM reached out to me about this because he was talking to the Stanislaus, the Forest Service director for the Stanislaus about a biomass discussion as a part of that meeting. And
Yeah.
so normally that would be vendor space, but to me, it seemed like maybe that's an opportunity for us to put a table together and really try to highlight the biomass issue and how hard it is, both because of state and federal regulations, to build community scale biomass that would be, provides a lot of different benefits. But the policy issues, are not aligned with what the state and federal administrations have said about, where they're trying to go with forest management. So really highlighting those issues might be a good use of that space for us.
A great way to kind of set the stage for one of the panels that's taking place later that afternoon. Sure.
Thought into that.
Are we at Mountain County's gonna highlight that morning session to our associate members?
Yeah, so we have, and we will continue to do so. We're looking to get, we've already had a few members who are interested in sponsoring in general, but we haven't had, I think we've had one or two members interested in the resource fair. So we'll keep pushing that out. And yeah, you're right. I'll do a specific call out for our associate members around that opportunity.
Awesome. That sounds like a great opportunity. We will also be with you. I don't know, it's not gonna get into this meeting, but Michael and I will be in touch with you or somehow or another, maybe you'll be in touch with us about the April 19th thing in Murphy.
Yeah, I'll be connecting with you guys this month now. We're into February. So this month around getting set up for that event. So appreciate you guys' support there.
April 19th? Isn't that a Sunday?
I don't know.
April 10th.
Okay.
Yeah, the reception's on the 9th. Meetings on the
And there
morning
might be
of-
an opportunity, just as a heads up for both of you, it hasn't been approved by the board yet, but we're looking at potentially hosting our first regional roundtable that Thursday, the 9th during lunch. And so if we're to do that, we would be doing it, adding it on to our reception and board meeting. So it would take place nearby.
That'll be our first one, right?
That'll be our first one. Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Do you want us to help host that?
That would be
happy to.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I will be in touch after the board gives the blessing on all of that, and we would love to have you guys host that.
Okay.
I know why I thought it was the 19th, because April 9 plus April 10 is April.
Yeah.
Got to slow things down for us. Scott. Yeah, let's make sure we get that on our calendars too, and we're looking forward to hosting.
Anything else on the
It-
state, back to our agenda, our state ledge regulatory updates?
One other bill, Justin, and I don't know if it has been introduced, if there's a bill number yet or not, but Aqua was considering co-sponsoring with the Nature Conservancy a bill that would require that same wildfire forest resilience task force to do a study on the cost of the health impacts of wildfire. And I think the reason that's significant is because some of the efforts that we advocate for, like biomass utilization, sometimes people complain about the cost of those things, and it's never, we don't have the other side of that equation of, well, what's the
Right.
cost of not doing it? What's the cost of wildfire on the public? And so I think that's the driving force behind that legislation. So Aqua was going to potentially co-sponsor that with Nature Conservancy, and that could be very useful for those advocacy efforts.
Those are questions that we've been asking a number of for quite some time.
Yeah, and it's hard
The
for,
cost avoidance.
right, it's hard for
Right.
individual agencies to get all the data together, and it's a pretty
Well,
big,
but
pretty big
you know,
effort.
more that these big catastrophic fires have started to ramp up. We've got a lot of data over the last 10 years of the cost of trying to put these things out, the economic problems.
We have that, but we don't, it's harder to get the kind of the public health impact of those wildfires. That requires, I think, a more coordinated effort, and that's what this would.
Yeah, even just to get an estimate of the carbon that goes into the air.
Yep.
compared to
Carbon
catastrophic
emissions.
wildfire,
That's absolutely
as opposed
right.
to-
Yeah.
as opposed to our electric vehicles.
Right.
Like they're barking up the wrong tree on that stuff.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. That's on our radar too. And I'm going to connect with, we're working with both of the organizations on our platform. One of the ways that the only way we get things accomplished is through building coalitions. And so that's what,
Yeah.
we make sure that we do and working together. So we'll connect with them on that and making sure we get involved.
It makes sense that mountain counties would be,
Yeah.
right there on that one. Good deal. Really appreciate your time, Justin. It's really helpful.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your time today. Awesome. And got a lot of other stuff discussed in here too. Good catching up. Anything further?
Nothing from me.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Justin. General manager's comments. Anything, Michael?
No, I think we covered it all.
Director's comments? Future agenda items for you?
So,
And the only future agenda item I already mentioned was the federal, under federal, the Bureau of Rec, New Maloney's thing, whatever, if not anything else, just an update, but I sure would hate to give up on. Next meeting, Tuesday, April 7th, 1 p.m. After that, we're adjourned. Thank you.
thank you.